Hello, folks, and welcome. This is Paragon RG. We are going to be watching a match and keeping a close eye on troop movement. So I'm trying to pick matches that have specific kinds of civs or specific kinds of matchups to make sure that we get interesting matches here. So we're in a game. We have Andor playing as the Mongols. So Mongol troop movement is really important to watch. They have so many options. I'm hoping we don't just see a tower rush here, so we'll see what happens. And on the east side of the map, we have the Viper playing as the Abbasid dynasty. So as always, a boom is likely as the Abbasid. Viper not adding a second scout, so it looks very intent on going with the economic approach here for the Abbasid dynasty. One thing to note is, especially with berry bonuses, you need those sheep less. You need those sheep a lot less. And Sonaris from chat points out that Tower Rush was nerfed. Tower Rush was nerfed, but it is still really good. Like, we see it all the time still. And there's actually just a player that posted in the subreddit. He showed his elo basically before he went on a Mongol Tower Rush rampage, and after, and it's like a 300 point jump in elo. So it's still really hard to do anything about, even if Mongols start with a little bit less wood, and they and their towers cost full price now. Still pretty hard to stop. So nevertheless, we'll see what Andor chooses to go with. Ovo right beside his town center. Interesting. Now I'm curious. Let's take a quick look at the villager counts. 14, 13 for Andor. Okay, so I don't think he is... Oh, yeah, he probably doesn't have enough stone. We'll keep an eye if he ends up spending stone on villagers, which would be a pretty interesting play from him. Yeah, I don't always get tower rushed by Mongols, but when I do, I tower rush them back. Respect. Respond in kind, eye for an eye. Chinese tower rush can also be nasty. And of course, we have the variants, the stone wall rushes as well, which the Chinese do pretty effectively. I've seen the Abbasid do them as well, though I'm not sure what bonuses they get on that front. Chinese, of course, build twice as fast, so it's generally useful to rush buildings of any kind. Silver Tree going up for Andor. That's interesting. That's super interesting. So we do not see much Silver Tree play from the Mongols at all. And, I mean, in a way, for good reason, because it's so hard to guard trade routes. But it's such a crazy boom that it's hard to keep up with. If a player doesn't catch that you're doing it, or doesn't jump on it quickly enough, they can be so far behind. One issue, though, as well, is it's an investment that isn't... it's... Like, villagers are easy to protect, because you can pop them into town centers. So, unless maybe you have a series of outposts, and you're really active about popping traders into outposts and keeping them alive, it's an investment that's really hard to make pay off. Because if you put all these resources into traders and then they kill them, you're back at square one, potentially no farther ahead, because you spent all this money on traders that just went away. Whereas if you build a town center, a second town center, there's not a lot they can really do about it. They can ram rush you, of course, but that's a heavy feudal play. Sonora says, have you seen Grubby aggressive Silver Tree game? He won. Who's he playing against? I'd be curious to know. I haven't seen it. I don't often watch Grubby's matches, not because I don't like Grubby. I like Grubby a lot, but because his matches take forever. So he'll upload these 45-minute matches to YouTube, and I much prefer shorter matches. Yeah, versus Roos. Early on, we saw a lot of it as well. I saw Doubt doing that kind of thing. Okay, so traders are popping out now. 2 times traders coming out here. So it's going to be really important to see how the Viper deals with this, if he does, and how Andor is actually able to defend this. So that's going to be where our eye rests at this point. Viper now with a single horseman and 2 archers moving out on the map. Another archer and a couple more horsemen coming out. So not crazy feudal investment. Now, do we know what he's seen? He has not seen the silver tree. Interesting. So, oh, wait a minute. Or did it just... Now, I can't trust anything with the minimap bugs, unfortunately. So, a few horsemen out from Ander as well, driving Viper away. So, presumably, his forces are going to be focused in this, kind of this area, right? So, he won't want the Viper looping around back here. If he does, he's going to be in trouble with these traders. So, Silver Tree moves farther away now that he has a handful of traders. And as far as I know, the traders do actually route properly. If they have nowhere else to drop off to, they will try to reroute themselves to your Silver Tree. So 62 gold now coming back for each one. Viper trying to get some damage in, but these will go down pretty quickly. These archers will go down to the horsemen. So needs to take out at least one trader to make this worthwhile. And even then, does take one out, but these things are pretty darn cheap. You know, 75 wood, 37 gold, and they're even being double produced using the stone, or at least were being double produced. Okay. Viper just sort of poking forward a little bit. Now he is... Okay, I did not catch this. The Viper has looped around, and he is sitting in the way of his opponent's trade post, the neutral market. Played for Salami. Yeah, Salami is an awesome player. I'm a big fan. Anyone who watches my streamer videos probably knows I'm a big Salami fan. So, more horsemen coming out now from Andor to try to protect this trade route. So, now, look at this. Viper is, in the meantime, moving troops this way. So, distracting on this side. His troops are actually a little bit stuck. But we'll have to see if this ends up playing to his advantage. Yeah, totally trapped in here. So definitely not good. On the other hand, if his opponent doesn't see this in time, he could lose quite a few traders. And horsemen will go down pretty quickly to horsemen and camel combination. So Viper is cleaned up on that side. Traders still bring back 62 gold, but now 6 wood and 6 food as well. Camels doing what they can. Keep in mind, they do automatically debuff enemy horsemen, or sorry, enemy cavalry by 20% of their damage. So Viper really just trying to kill as many of the traders as he can before moving on. But it could go poorly for him if he loses too much. Keep in mind, it's 120 resources for one of these horsemen, and it's closer to 110 for a single one of these traders, and then of course they're being double produced using stone where possible, or at least were. They're no longer near the ovo. Okay, Viper looping to the east side of the ridge now, of the western ridge, poking again at these traders. So he's making this an absolute nightmare to deal with. And keep in mind, so much of Anders' investment is going to setting up this trade. So we'll have to see how well he transitions out of it. Do we see... So resource-wise, neither player looks particularly close to Castle Age, except that Ander has 600 plus gold. And so he has the gold he needs, which makes sense. He has the trade, and trade provides gold, and for Mongols, only a little bit of the other resources. So being driven away there, but again, comes back from this side. Viper being so annoying here. Camels will have to pull back. I believe horsemen are still an effective counter to them. Yeah, look at all that damage being done. So remember, these camels, camel archers, I should say, are 240 resources each. So, you know, are they worth 2 horsemen? In battle, certainly not directly. So you need to make sure you retreat and get the use out of them that you can. So far, the Viper mostly pressing on 2 sides, east and west side of the northern ridge, let's say, and then he is pressing along the south as well. So has enough troops here that his opponent can't really meet him head on. Viper is going to choose his opportunity to dive in. Nope, actually turns back. He's hoping to clear up some of his opponent's troops, but he is definitely outnumbered now. So if we take a look at the Viper's production facilities, you'll see they're actually rallying directly into combat here. This is something top players do really, really well. Oh, this battle. Is this going well for the Viper? I didn't see 2 horsemen there. Looks like maybe it is going well for him. But top players are really good at directing their troops pretty much directly into battle. And then if it's going south, they direct them elsewhere. And, you know, any sort of stray troops, they pull out. So important, because if you're being reinforced directly into your battle, and especially if your opponent isn't, you can actually start a battle on a slight disadvantage. And because battles take a little longer than in a lot of games, like for example StarCraft, you can reinforce into battle and have success with that. So what do we see here? Archers plus some horsemen. This is a mistake if Andor tries to fight this, and in fact Viper chooses to jump right on these archers. May lose a couple of horsemen because there are some low health ones in there, but ultimately these archers I do not think are doing the job. Now that being said, they may be buying time and drawing him away from this area, and you'll actually notice Andor is no longer getting the wood here. So his traders have been reduced to a point where he presumably doesn't have, 7 or 9? So fewer than that number. Viper's horsemen are starting to do such good work here. Does have to retreat. Loses a few more. But runs in with another batch of them. So you'll notice what he did here is he started losing. He pulled north, and his opponent feels like he has to do something about this. So he follows them. Meanwhile, he pulls them right into the other side. And if we check the military production buildings again, where are they headed? Right here. So Viper reinforcing to a really far forward point by his opponent. Takes out this outpost because he wants to be able to raid this whenever he can, right? So that outpost allowing traders or military units or what have you to be a little safer. And of course, I didn't see if it was, but it could be upgraded with emplacements, which make it pretty annoying. Now, looks like we see maybe something a little different. Viper has changed where his troops are being rallied to. So that indicates either a different plan or he doesn't think this is safe anymore. Meeting combat over here. In some ways, I really wish hills acted like they did in AoE4 in this game, because this could be a place where you could hang out and get an advantage because you're fighting on the downhill. Instead, the only advantage they provide, as far as I know, is line of sight. Viper does end up winning out in this battle, and it wasn't clear to me either who would win, so a little hard to tell in some of these battles. We have to keep an eye on this army up here. Where does the Viper choose to move it to? These troops running around a little, so it looks like they're meeting up, and they are going to where? Just regrouping a little bit. We'll follow them on the minimap. His southern force continues to push a little close to that town center. Doesn't really want to deal with that. And actually regroups his whole army here. So this is the kind of thing I was hoping to see. There are cases where your army is just better together. Like people say, oh, split up your army, you get an advantage. You only get an advantage if you do it right. Splitting up your army can also just mean that your opponent can take out 2 smaller armies. Which, you know, if you've read anything about military history, happened damn near constantly. People split up a bunch of armies, and then they just get pulverized by a better general. Villager being taken out by Viper's forces, and Andor cannot challenge this directly anymore. So, looks like this was a good move for the Viper. He's going to be able to basically stop any trade to this point, because he has an army now that his opponent can't deal with. So, game theoretically, something just switched here. For a while, the Viper seemed to be behind in military consistently, so he took a lot of losing battles, but he was able to split up, and he was able to cause problems and kill lots and lots of traders. But now, Viper can't, he has the force. He can pick the battles he wants. His opponent has to run away. Look at that. Trader. It doesn't show. Am I crazy? There it is. Okay. So now he's going to hang out over here, and if we go back to his production facilities, we'll see they are redirecting to here. So something I think is pretty cool that I haven't watched so actively before is just keeping an eye on where the production ends up being directed to. So it's kind of like a staging area, right? And we better pop over here. Viper jumping in, hoping to kill some villagers, and we'll pull out right away to minimize how many horsemen he loses. So one goes down there. We'll see if a second one goes down. Doesn't look like it. Camels are a little bit slow right now. I think they can be upgraded. Not positive on that. And there's now spearmen from his opponent. So the fact that Viper could take pretty much any battle he wanted, that has changed a little bit now. He needs to be a little more clever with it. And he needs these camel archers to snipe down his opponent's spearmen, which they are so good at doing. They basically get triple damage. So that 11 bow damage, which I think is from an upgrade, it would normally be 10 at this point, plus 20 versus light melee infantry, which includes spearmen. And this horseman camel archer composition is so powerful. I love that we're seeing this now from Abbasid. I think this became viable as soon as they buffed horsemen, but we didn't really see it in large part because people weren't playing Abbasid. Because they were trying, but they were struggling for other reasons. Oh, this poor trader. Sad, sad life. The silver tree itself now being torched down. Minor raid with the Khan here. This thing actually only... Hold on a minute. Okay, so I was about to check ages. Viper is now in the Castle Age. His opponent is still in the Feudal Age. And doesn't look like he has the resources to go up. So I expect we're going to see Camel Archers upgraded. Let's take a look. We see Veteran Camel Archer indeed. And do we see Horsemen? We don't yet see Veteran Horsemen coming in. Looks like a Men-at-Arms switch from the Viper. And this is his current staging area. So just basically plopped out in front of his base. The nice thing about Men-at-Arms is that they will deal with the Spearmen. They're pretty good against Horsemen. Pretty good against Archers. So they're just good against a lot of things. And, as I had forgotten, but we now see demonstrated by the Viper, they can build battering rams. So he is now setting up for a proper frontal assault. These troops will continue to sort of wander around the perimeter of Anders' base. Kill any villagers they can. Scout anything they can. If he sees an army he can jump on, he will jump on it. Like, let's say he realizes he can kill 5 horsemen. That's worth doing. Any small advantage can make a big difference. I think Ander is working really hard to get to the next age now. But this silver tree, honestly, has not paid off, in my opinion. Has not been able to defend it as well as he would like. Viper now looping to the north with his horsemen. Camel Archers remain here. What did he go up with? Did he go up with the military wing? Okay, still culture wing. I was hoping to see if the camels would buff the infantry, providing them with extra armor, which would be pretty cool. Second ram being made, first ram coming in now, and Camel Archers are here. So, Viper is taking out outposts here. Now, this may be a mistake by the Viper. We'll have to wait and see. I'm guessing he'll have to retreat with pretty much everything here. The only thing keeping him in this battle may be the Men-at-Arms, because they are so tough, they can stay in battle. But the fact is, he may want these horsemen in this battle, and I'm not sure they're going to be getting value taking out these outposts when there's so little trade. So they'd probably be better off moving in, taking out villagers that they can. Meanwhile, Viper can retreat here, use his camels to snipe away at things, which we see that he is doing. And we'll speed back up now to see what the movement of the horsemen ends up being. It looks like the Men-at-Arms doing a really good job just tanking. Camels providing that DPS. So I think my analysis of this battle was incorrect because the Men-at-Arms were better than I expected at tanking hits, which means his horsemen can be out and about causing problems, and I would love to see them taking out these traders. So much gold coming in. from each trip of these guys. Archer's now going down. This is looking so bad for Ander. And Camel Archer's getting your base. You're so boned. These guys are veterans now. They do 14 damage each. Looking pretty decisive here. And Ander calls it. So, Viper, really nice play. And honestly, a clinic in how to move your troops around. And we even saw... He knew he didn't need these horsemen in this battle. Right? If he did, he probably would have pulled them back. I assumed he would have to pull them back. He didn't need to. Instead, they could hang out over here. They could cause trouble. And they even moved over to here by the end, which I didn't catch. So we could expect, if Ander did not resign, these villagers would have been jumped on. And the good times for the Viper would have continued. So folks, this has been Paragon RG. I hope you enjoyed this one. We will watch another match for troop movement shortly. Stay tuned for more, and I'll catch you next time.